Well, all right, Star Trek, after all this cruising it's done so far with its next generation crew, decided, hey, we need to head back to space dock and get the Enterprise's computer system defragmented. And so they make use of the space station from Star Trek, Search for Spock, and it's almost exactly the same scene as the Enterprise goes into it, but of course, it's the brand new Enterprise. So anyway, yeah, they go in and they dock there, and most of the crew has gotten a certain amount of leave, so they're all, leaving the ship for the most part. Worf and Tasha Yar dress up in Fantastic Four costumes to go play. Meanwhile, Picard and Riker are going to stay on to oversee the reset or whatever. There's a Picard double, but he has a goatee, shows up. He's just a guy he's bald. And with a bunch of little nutsack-headed aliens called the Binars, which I realize is offensive, acknowledging binary, but they're a species, their entire planet is dependent on binary code. And so's your beloved computers and whatnot. So, yeah, what are you going to do? Plus, that's the title with the 101, yeah, all that. They're very strange. And, of course, Riker, being a total bigot, is very suspicious of them. And then he proceeds to insult both Geordi and Data. He mocks Data's android identity, and then mocks Geordi's blindness, saying, hey, this will go down in history. A blind man teaching a fake man how to paint. Oh, Riker. But anyway, Riker was right to be suspicious of the Binars, because all is not what it seems. So they're the best in the business of code and whatnot, except maybe not so much. So Riker's suspicious of whatnot, so it seems like, hey, don't worry, they've got a distraction planned. Yeah, that's right, they distract Riker with holodeck porn. Oh, boy, and he dives right in. They got this fake woman named Minuet, and boy, is she something. She's all right, I guess, but she's tailor-made for Riker. That's what he's into. And so is Picard, because later on he gets lured in there too, because apparently Minuet was planning on a three-way, Yeah. Well, before that train could leave the station, the ship leaves the station because the Binars steal it. They fake a seeming disaster with the warp core, so everyone else who's still on the ship evacuates. And Data takes charge and says, all right, everybody leave, it's dangerous, and we got to automatically send the ship way out into space so it blows up. And they say, hey, shouldn't we can't contact the captain? No, not time. Now that's really stupid. It should have been like the Binars fixed it to where they could have faked Picard's voice on the comm, and he says, I'm on my way to the station, Data. Oversee plans. Okay, so then he does, Little do they know, Riker and Picard are in the holodeck enjoying some holodeck porn. So that would have worked better, but they never even really make the attempt. It's just right before Data and Geordi leave, hey, computer, where's Picard? He's not on the ship. Oh, okay. So see, already, obviously, that's a lie. So the Binars had fixed it to where nobody knows they're still on the ship. So anyway, they leave, and then the ship takes off and warps out. And they're like, oh my God, someone has stolen the ship, because they realized the warp core problem was fake. It was, it was fine. And, oh man, what's this all about? And they, hey, where's Picard and Riker? And they're like, oops. And after a while, hey, where's the Binars? Oops. So it takes them a while, but they figure it out. So the ship's cruising along, and then, but Picard's like, well, I've got to get back to work or something. And Minuet's, no, stay. Then, wait a minute. And Riker, she wouldn't be that hot for Picard. So then they suspect something's going on here. And so the Binars forgot to lock them in the holodeck, so they couldn't just leave it. So they leave it, and they realize, uh-oh, something's wrong with the ship. So they're denied access to certain parts, but not all, which, probably should have thought of that too, Beinart. So then they set the self-destruct system in case, because, you can't let the Galaxy-class starship fall into the wrong hands. And, so that's what they do. And then they have to beam themselves into the bridge because the Beinards finally figured out how to lock a door. And once they get there, the Beinards are all collapsed on the floor, seemingly dead. Like, what? And then they're over the Binus planet, where they're completely neural linked into a computer. But there was a nova nearby and would have fried and erased all their data. So they needed a big computer, to store all their crap. And apparently the Enterprise was the only one within reach that was, big enough to take it all. So that's what they did. And so then Picard and Riker realized, we got to send all the data back to the Binus planet. And so they do, and yay, everything's fixed. Yeah. So all the little nutsack-headed aliens are, I don't know, reprimanded or something, but you could have just told us. And they said, yeah, but you might have said no. So, yeah, that's really, these guys could cause all kinds of trouble, and when they only think of yes and no, and there's no nuance there, yeah, well, hopefully that all works out. So anyway, Riker, becoming obsessed with porn, heads back to the holodeck, but the minuet that he fell in love with is no longer there. It's just some other chick. So he's like, oh, man. And then Picard makes a joke about it, and they're good. Some aspects of the show was all right, but there's some stumbles and plot holes here that are really unnecessary. You could have, fixed it and all that. And then finally, them saying, we could have asked you for help, but you might have said no. Guess they just didn't know them well enough to think, hey, you think they're nice? Think it might help? I don't know. So, yeah. Anyway, after that, they get their ship back and all that. And then they head on to a new mission in the next episode of Too Short a Season. Well, this is all about getting old, and wouldn't you like to be young again? Or more importantly, just not look like crap, and more importantly, feel like crap? Oh, boy, everyone can understand that. I understand it even more now than I did when I first saw this episode. Back in the late 80s. So anyway, that's the deal. There's some terrorist organization on this planet has seemingly captured some Federation hostages, and the dictator of the planet said, hey, they want this old admiral who once did negotiations in the past to come negotiate. So old admiral is really old. He's a shriveled old prune riding around in a Professor X chair. Boy, take a look at that, Picard, huh? Yeah. Anyway, but all is not what it seems. Because it seems the old coot decided to try some experimental, unofficial, or how do you put that when it's not properly regulated or whatever? There's a word, but of course I'm old, so it's skipping my mind. But basically, I guess he crossed the Federation border to check out some alien treatment for old age, and I don't know. Normally they don't share the technology with alien species, but they decided to do it because they owed him a favor or something. And well, what do you know? It works, but oh boy, it's really dangerous. In the fact that it's lethal. So, but the thing of it is, this mission came up, and he had tried one dose and had secured another second dose for his wife. But when the mission came along, I got to be in full strength for this, so he took both doses. So who knows? Just one dose might have worked out a lot better. But anyway, he starts getting younger and younger, and then I don't know, having gas pains and stuff a lot, and cramps. And but turns out another thing that's not all that it seems. There's no terrorist organization. It's just a dictator who has an axe to grind against the admiral. Because it seems 40 years ago, yes, 40 years ago, this admiral, he's a young officer, negotiated a deal with these guys where the dictator, he wanted revenge because his daddy, who was in charge at the time, was assassinated. And he wanted revenge on the assassins. So he demanded weapons. And so well, I guess he wasn't an admiral then or whatever. I'm forgetting it. Damn. Yeah, I'm already forgetting his name because, I didn't have that treatment. So, but he gives him the weapons, but at the same time, he uses the Kirk method. Like Kirk and the Klingons did for that planet. That was, a bunch of guys with sticks and stones and knives and animal skins, and all of a sudden now they had rifles. Well, that's the same solution. So the guy decided to make it fair. He had to even it out, so he gave weapons to the enemy camp too. So that plunged them into 40 years of war. Well, look, he said, hey, I didn't think it would last that long, but oh well, whoops. And so he kind of felt bad about it, So he thought, hey, here's my chance to make good on that. Well, I guess he did, not the way he planned, but he does so by dying in front of the dictator, and the dictator's like, well, all right, he suffered, that's good enough for me, so he releases the hostages. And, I think this was better than the previous one, and it deals with somewhat with old age and stuff, but it's also his regrets and paying a heavy price for what he had done. And then he doctored the official story, so no one really knew what happened. It seems like that would have gotten out by now, But I don't know, it's one of these little faraway backwater planets no one cares about, I guess. So, it's like, oh, well, let's move on. So, well, that's about it. Today, you guess you could actually get an actor who's really old and then de-age him. That would look better because, boy, this guy, he looked like more of an alien than just an old man. And then by the time he's young, it's, well, but what are you going to do? You get the idea. And, so, it's all very sad. Well, he was full of regret and he paid a heavy price. But it was his own stupidity that got him there, so I don't know. But the whole thing was the dictator just wanted to kill him, so yeah, he's dead. So, dun, 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 dun. All right, there you go. The Binors and an old man who died young.